Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our webinar. Hello. Welcome. I think everyone's just joining, which is great. We're expecting a good turnout tonight. So we're just going to wait a minute or two to allow everyone to log in. In the meantime, when you're coming in, please do pop into the chat and let us know where you're dialing in from, what country. I always do like to know where people are dialing in from. Spain, wonderful. Welcome. Taiwan, Amsterdam, the US, Italy, Brazil. Amazing. Amazing.
Very cool.
Cool. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming to our session tonight. This is the Post-High School Options webinar. My name's David. I'm from TU International, and I'm delighted to be here tonight to this webinar session hosted by Jenna from our US office in New York. And then we also have Ayelet, who heads up the liberal arts option here in Israel. Wonderful. So I think we'll begin. I just want to begin with a video, and you're very lucky because you're the first people seeing this video. It was literally just finalized this morning. We've not yet published it apart from just popping it onto our YouTube channel, but we're due to send it out to everyone over the next couple of days. And it just shows you, student testimonials talking about what it's like to be back in Israel, to be back on campus and having classes in campus. So let me just share that video now with you. Cool. Can you all see the screen okay?
Yep.
Cool.
I'm happy to be here back on campus, finally studying with other people, meeting, feeling the sun, eating outside. It's been a while.
I really love being back in the library, again, talking sometimes with my classmates, just having that in-person interaction that I've missed the whole time. So come join us on campus, it's lovely here.
I'm a student at Tel Aviv University. Right now I'm at Tel Aviv University campus, where things are back to normal. I've been enjoying myself, not only the sun and the city and the beaches, but also all the places the campus has to offer, all the cafes, all these places to study.
We're back open now in person, and I definitely love the fact that I can walk over onto the nice grasses here and go to Aroma with all my friends. Definitely being in person has made the learning experience a lot better, with a better flow of communication between professors and the students, and overall I'm loving the whole experience.
It's amazing to be back on campus after so many months we spent on Zoom, and finally I had the chance to meet my university mate and all the professors. The atmosphere is great, and Israel did great because we're back on campus while the whole world is still on Zoom, so I feel blessed.
Wonderful. Oh, sorry. Okay. So yeah, that's our brand new video. So you're very lucky that you're the first people to see it. And I think it just reiterates that the campus is now back open. Life here in Israel is 99.9% back to normal, back to what it was like pre-COVID, which is wonderful. So yeah, so we look forward to, and we hope that we would see you on campus and in Israel for the next academic year. Before I hand over to Jenna, just a bit of housekeeping. You're welcome to ask questions along the way. You can pop them into the chat function. You can do it in the Q&A function. Jenna and Ayelet and myself are available and willing to answer any questions about the programming, about student life, housing, excursions, you name it. So please, use that function. And yes, we are recording the webinar as well to add to our YouTube channel and to send out to the people that weren't able to come tonight. So thank you very much. And I'd like to hand over to Jenna from our US office in New York to begin the presentation.
Thanks, David. Hi, everybody. I'll just quickly echo what David said. Thank you for joining us. Really exciting to see how many people are with us from so many different places. Only a little intimidating, but like David said, I'm from our New York office, and I help to support students who are considering applying to any of our programs from outside of Israel. And you can see we offer everything at the bottom of your screen. So everything from study abroad programs to doctoral research. There's a lot involved, but just to put it into context a little bit, the university as a whole is a pretty exciting and big place. It's Israel's largest and most comprehensive institution for higher education in Israel. It's Israel's #1 choice amongst Israeli students. It's a big place. There are about 30,000 students total on campus every year, and they are studying a variety of things from over 125 schools and departments across 9 faculties. And the international school itself is kind of like the department of the university that oversees all of the language, all of the programming available in English to students who are not Israeli and coming from elsewhere in the world, like yourselves. So there's a lot available. Tel Aviv University International offers a full academic path, everything from an undergraduate degree through master's degrees and doctoral research, like I mentioned. But we also have short-term programs and study abroad options if you're a high school student, like most of you may be, or a college student elsewhere in the world and you want to do a semester or a year abroad. So that's just to kind of put TAU International into context. But like I mentioned, I am going to be discussing today, we're all going to be talking about what your options are at TAU International after high school. So as I mentioned earlier, we have full degree program options at the undergraduate level, which you're going to hear a little bit more about from Ayelet shortly. But first, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what our academic gap program is. So this is a non-degree seeking program where you can pick up academic credit post high school. So this is just some information about the program that we're anticipating for this upcoming fall. We're accepting applications if you're a senior in high school now and trying to think about what to do, or you just graduated high school, you're trying to think about what to do next year, not quite ready to go to college, but you don't want to waste that time academic wise. Then the academic gap program is going to be a really good option for you. It's different from BBYO or Nativ, a program like that it's less of an experiential program and more of an academic program like a freshman year abroad. So you can do that for either a semester or year, and you can see the dates for the upcoming academic year there on your screen, as well as some of the application requirements. Because it's not a full degree, this program application doesn't require standardized exam scores, for instance, but we do require official transcripts from your high school career, letters of academic reference, a GPA of approximately 3.0. So if you have completed high school, you're about to graduate high school, this is a great option for you. You can take courses during that semester or year that are designed to fulfill a lot of the gen ed requirements that most liberal arts programs here in the US anyway will require. So things in the humanities, arts and culture, environmental studies, history, philosophy, literature, these kinds of things. So it's a good way to make sure you're still spending your time wisely towards your ultimate academic goals. So that is just briefly about the academic gap programming that we offer. I'm happy to answer questions about it later on, but I'm going to turn it over now to Ayelet Diamant, who is the director of our BA in Liberal Arts program. And she's going to give you a little bit more info about what that full degree option looks like for you.
Thank you, Jenna, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see our, wait, let me see. All right. Just 1 second. Having kind of an issue here.
Do you need some assistance, Ayelet?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I do. For some reason, I can't find my computer, my sharing button. It can't find my desktop.
Okay, do you want to, if you email me the presentation, I
Yes,
could open
I will
it?
do that right this instant.
Cool,
Dave,
and I can open it and then just flick
share
through it.
Please share it.
In the meantime, what I can do is answer the question that
Yes,
came into the
please.
chat about the gap year. Somebody asked if it's open for students who have double nationality, including Israeli nationality. And my understanding is yes, that there's not a reason that we would not allow someone to apply for the gap year program. Of course, there are questions, I think, about military service, maybe. If you don't already live in Israel and you come in, that is something to definitely talk to folks at an Israeli consulate about or something like that. But it wouldn't, having dual nationality would not preclude you from qualifying for the gap year.
David, have you received my?
No, I've not. Did you email it?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I'm just replicating my email. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I apologize for the technical issues here.
No problem. Let me just open this.
So basically, I'm going to be telling you, sharing some information with you about 2 undergraduates that we offer here at Tel Aviv University. They're kind of sister programs, and as I go along through the presentation, you will understand better. So I will start with our older sister, which is a 3-year program, our International BA in Liberal Arts. It's a program that's been running very, very successfully this 8th year right now. And it's quite a multinational, cultural program in the sense that we, amongst our 160 students, approximately 160 students right now, they're from all over the globe. They're from over 35 countries. And it's quite amazing to see the bonds and friendships that are created within the classes and corridors during the course of study here. So this is a 3-year program, which at the end you receive a BA and you accumulate 120 credits within your studies. What's important for me to emphasize in this program, it's not about one discipline that you follow within the your studies, like only psychology or only linguistics. It's really, really important for us to emphasize that it's a track-based program because we would like to expose our liberal arts students to as many fields of liberal arts as possible. So in the first year, basically, we would lay the foundations of core studies that all our students will take. I will say more about this in a moment. And then there are 8 tracks here that you can see that a student would need to pick 4 tracks out of the 8, which will follow him throughout his course of studies. This is a program that we really try to cuddle and cradle our students as much as possible. We are really aware that young students straight out of high school usually come here to Israel, leave home. So there's a lot of support within this program. Jenna will later also elaborate regarding the student life team, but also Within the liberal arts office, there's also the academic office and the administrative office that assists you with anything that you need, also visas. And we also have academic advisors that walk hand in hand with you throughout your course of studies here to assist you with class registration, academic requirements, so you're not left alone. And it's very important to keep in mind that we do pride ourselves for keeping small and intimate classes. This is also to facilitate productive discussions, and our professors are extremely approachable, and it's non-formal, and the atmosphere in class and in the program is truly amazing. David, we can skip forward. So a little bit about the structure of the program. As I first said, there's a core curriculum, which is basically the foundations that we feel that every liberal student should take part in. So it doesn't matter which track you pick out of the 8 that I said, this core curriculum is something that everybody needs to study. You can see a little bit of the variety of classes that we have here. Students will learn study political philosophy and critical theory, and a little bit of history, and a little bit of literature. Everybody takes academic writing. It's extremely important. And other than the core curriculum in the first year, you will take required classes out of the 4 tracks that you have picked. So the first year is kind of like a buffet. You take the core classes and a little bit a taste of required classes from the 4 tracks. In the second year, after you have tasted a little bit of the options that you have picked to study, you can take an educated decision and decide what you would like your major and minor to be. So out of the 4 tracks that you picked, one will become a major, another one a minor, and the 2 other will become basic tracks. What differentiates a minor, a major, and basic track is the amount of credits that are dedicated, amount of courses that are dedicated to each of these. And in your 3rd year, of course, you will deepen your knowledge and you will complete your seminars in both major and minors. And at the end of these 3 years, you will receive a BA from in liberal arts from TAU. A little bit about application and cost. So for the liberal arts, application is still open. It will remain open until August 31st. And as you can see here are the requirements. So we do need a final high school transcript. If you currently don't have one, you can send us your interim transcript. But you have to make sure to submit one. If you're accepted, you have to make sure to submit one before the academic year begins. We would like to see an essay. There are prompts suggested on the application form, and 2 letters of recommendation. We would like it to be from someone who can vouch for your academic standing. As for SATs and ACTs, which are usually required, because of COVID, we are aware that many SAT centers around the world have been closed, and therefore for this year, this score is optional. That means it's not a must for to be accepted. If you do have a score of these exams, I would suggest that you submit them. If you don't, then it's okay. It will not work against you, but you will see on the application form that you're asked to submit an additional essay, and a special subject is there for you to address within that essay. David, it bounced backwards. I need you to take it forward. Great, thank you. No. A little one backwards. There, over here, great. Cost and fundings. As you can see here, it's a 3-year program. Each year it's $15,000 per year. And you can see approximately another $7,500 for dorms, meals, and this doesn't include flights and miscellaneous. So this is kind of a recap of our liberal arts. We can jump forward to our next program, our younger new sister that we're extremely proud of. So after, as I said, the liberal arts program has been running very successfully, and it's an extremely It's an extremely prestige program. I think the best indication for this is our new venture with Columbia University. Last year, we formed together this dual degree program, which actually relies on the liberal arts program, which will be studied here 2 years. And then years 3 and 4 will be in Columbia. So actually, this is a degree which will be studied in 2 universities, in 2 centers around the world, in 4 years instead of 3. And it definitely opens endless possibility before you. So as you can see, the first tier 1 and 2, it's basically the same as I mentioned before. The same tracks are offered before you. And in years 3 and 4, you can get a taste a little bit of the majors and concentrations, which you can take at Columbia. I'll just say that they have 80 majors and concentrations that you can pick out of. This is just a sample. And just to make things clear, you don't have to, you can pick a major and a minor in Tel Aviv University. And then when you transfer to Columbia, you can pick a different major and a minor. So it doesn't have to be the same within the entire course of the 4 years. David, can we continue? So how is this possible actually to get 2 diplomas in 4 years? This is actually because we've built this amazing accreditation, dual accreditation system, mutual accreditation system between Tel Aviv and Columbia. So as you can see here, instead of doing 3 years, 120 credits at Tel Aviv, a student will do only 2 years, which will consist of 80 credits. 60 of them will be accredited at Columbia University, and over there a student will need to continue and study another 64 credits. Out of those 64 credits studied at Columbia, Tel Aviv University will accredit back up to 40 credits. And with this dual accreditation procedure, you will be able to complete this dual degree program, which at the end will you will earn 2 BAs, one from Tel Aviv, a BA in Liberal Arts, and one from Columbia, a BA from the School of General Studies. I know it seems complicated. On our website, on the Columbia website, you can see a very, very clear table of how this is built. If anybody would like, there's an email, my email is at the end, and you're more than welcome to write me. We can continue, David. And general information on this program as well. So application for fall 2021, which begins in a few months, is currently closed. Application for Columbia ends very early in the year. It ended January 3rd, but during the next August, which is in a couple of months, application for 2022 will begin. You're more than welcome to apply. The application requirements are very, very similar to the liberal arts, as you can see. Again, the SATs are optional. And I can tell you that here you will need to submit only one personal essay, whether you have an SAT or an ACT, but the required GPA here is a little higher than the liberal arts program. As for cost and funding, the tuition is according to the institution where the student is studying. So for years 1 and 2, it will be by the TAU tuition, which is $15,000, as I mentioned before, and years 3 and 4, it's is by the Columbia tuition, which is approximately $80,000 per year. And I think, David, if you go forward over here, you can see the office number. You also can see my email. You are more than welcome to send me an email, to call the office, and I will be happy to share further information with you. Jenna, are there any questions that were addressed that I can answer?
There actually were.
Okay.
David, I'll just go ahead.
Okay.
So somebody asked about the diploma from the BA program. Will their major be written on the diploma, or is it just liberal arts?
Okay, the major is not written in the diploma. The major is mentioned and stated on the final transcript.
Okay.
The same, by the way, is for Columbia. The major is not stated on the diploma, but only on the transcript.
Okay, great. That was actually the only one that was specific for the liberal arts program. I would suggest, if you want, while I'm finishing my presentation, maybe to just type your email address and a link for the program, put it into the chat so everyone can grab it there. Someone also asked for the link for the dual degree page that explains the academics from Columbia. So if you are able to put that in too, might be great.
Great. I'm going to put the websites as well.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ayelet. Also, when I send out the email follow-up to everyone afterwards with a copy of the recording, I can also pop in there, Ayelet, your contact details, and also yours as well, Jenna. So everyone will have it in one easy place.
Thank you, David.
Cool.
Jenna, back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ayelet. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your presentation. And yes, like to hand back to Jenna in New York to continue her presentation.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Okay, so we just heard about these degrees. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about student life and accommodations and health insurance, these kinds of things. There are some questions in the Q&A and in the chat that I saw regarding some of these things. So I will hope to get some of those answered. If you need further clarification, again, just throw it into the chat or into the Q&A. But first of all, we provide housing on campus for all of our international students if you need it. It's not required for students to live on campus in every circumstance. So certainly you have a little bit of choice there, but when it comes to the academic gap program, at the very least, you can tell me if I'm wrong about that for the BA students. But our housing on campus is really less like American college dorms, which is my point of reference, and a little more of an adult living situation. They're apartment style suites, and you have a full kitchen and shower that you share in the common spaces in a multiple occupancy or single occupancy, if you require it, apartment. So there are various fees associated with the different types of housing available. All of that is available on our website in various locations. Happy to provide information about it if you have questions later on, but the dorms are lovely. It's, a very Israeli kind of apartment setting. And you have right on campus in the Broshim dormitory location, which is just a 5-minute walk from the Einstein dorms, a full grocery store and an aroma cafe, a bar and restaurant, an ATM, a barber shop, a candy store. Like, there's a lot available. It's a very soft landing for international students. And you can live in those dorms for a semester or a year. Somebody asked in the Q&A earlier about Ulpan for gap year students or gap semester students. That is a requirement I failed to mention. You're required to complete an intensive Hebrew immersion program for either 4 or 6 weeks at the beginning of your program. And you'll move into your dorm at the beginning of that Ulpan and stay there for the duration of your program, including over breaks during the Chagim if you're with us in the fall, or over Passover if you're with us in the spring. There are lots of holidays in Israel, as I'm sure you know. But something that I think is important to mention here is that this year and currently, all of our students who are joining us for programs are required to complete a quarantine. Obviously, we're living in 2021. So we have to accommodate that. We have to abide by the Israeli Ministry of Health regulations. And so what that means for students, for all students, vaccinated or unvaccinated, you are required to quarantine upon entry to Israel. Now, if you have been vaccinated, there are options to shorten that 14-day quarantine by taking a serological exam or a PCR test. There are ways to shorten that quarantine, actually in both circumstances. And unvaccinated students, somebody asked about if that unvaccinated students are allowed to attend. And the answer is yes, you'll have a little bit of a longer quarantine, unfortunately. And you'll need to be masked in public places and on campus, inside, when those who are unvaccinated or those who are vaccinated do not. So that is maybe something that my colleagues who are actually sitting on campus in Israel can elaborate if I'm getting anything wrong, but that is my understanding of what's required for students, regardless of your vaccination status. This is a requirement for entry into the country. And then once you've completed that quarantine requirement, whatever it may be, you're free to, you enjoy the same freedoms and are subject to the same restrictions as any other Israeli or Tel Avivian resident. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or the Q&A. But again, the accommodations that we have, the dorms are secured 24/7. You're issued an electronic fob with your student ID that allows you entrance into the dorms. And we have a group of really special people on our team on campus that we call the Madrichim, the student life team. And these are Israeli students who are, as you may know already, a little bit older than a typical American college student, as Israelis have completed some sort of military or civil service. So these students are employed by TAU International. They live in the dorms. There is somebody on call 24/7 in case of an emergency, knock on wood, but they're there to assist you in any sort of emergency or issue that you might have, be it medical, housing issues, etc. But the student life team is also your first point of contact when you get to campus. When you arrive to quarantine and check into your dorms, they're the ones who are there to greet you, and they are assisting you and supporting you during quarantine. And during the rest of your time with us on campus, they're managing social and cultural activities, trips around the country. Obviously, the last year looked a little bit different because of necessary precautions, but we're really looking forward to a time where these things are much more accessible to our students and a lot more in person. As you saw in the video at the beginning of the webinar, we're getting there on campus, and it's very exciting. It's a relief, I'm sure. I would love to be there. Let me come with you. So that's the student life team. They're truly the best, and I would say one of the most important resources that are at your disposal as an international student on campus, whether you're a full degree student that's going to be joining us for several years in a row, or a gap semester student who's just going to be with us for 4 or 5 months. They're there to make sure that you have a point of contact and assistance and support. So that is the student life team. I'm just going to throw up this contact info. These are the general info boxes. If you have questions about any of the programs, again, if you're definitely sure you want to apply for a full degree program and come to college, contact Ayelet straight away. Like I said, my role is to support students as they're considering our programs or applying to our programs. So we want to be in touch with you at any stage of this. If you have questions, if something is unclear, if you can't find something on the website, be in touch with us. It's a really special thing on campus that we all know each other. All of the international folks work together as a team to support our students and make that experience the best that it can be. So yeah, just keep in touch with us. We hope that we'll see you on campus. I don't know, David, if you have anything to add, or if we should do questions at the end.
I just want to add a couple of things you mentioned about life on campus and in Tel Aviv. As you've seen from the video, life on campus is and in Israel in general is back to almost back to normal in what it was like before, and the restrictions are slowly being eased out completely. And the only restriction we have now is to wear a mask indoors. So I think life here, whether you're vaccinated or you come unvaccinated, you will get to enjoy that, I think, compared to a lot of other countries, which is great. I think so. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jenna. I'll also put in the email follow-up these email addresses as well for everyone to direct any inquiries to the right people. Yeah, we have a couple of questions in our Q&A, so let's go through them. If anybody does want to perhaps ask their question, just raise their hand and I can switch on their mic and give you the option to chat with us. Somebody, I don't know if we answered this already before, but they've said, are both degrees liberal arts degrees? And yes, that's the case. Yeah, that's what I thought. Nina, hi Nina, you're here. You asked, will you be staying in a dorm with a student from your program, like the academic gap year?
Yes, so typically we house our students with roommates or suite mates that are on the same program as them or are on a program that has the same beginning and end dates. Typically it's really a housekeeping issue. It makes things easier for us. So for the most part, yes, you're living with students who are in the same program as you, or at least other international students who will be there at the same time as you. If you have a friend who's also participating in one of these programs and you know that when you're confirming and requesting housing, you're certainly welcome to request a roommate. We do our best to honor as many of those requests as we possibly can. But housing assignments are typically given to students when they arrive on campus. That's something that's very different from most US schools, at least, and want to manage your expectations there. So but it's kind of a moving puzzle. So once students arrive and we know everybody has a bed, if you need to switch for any reason, these things are what the student life team is there to help you resolve. But yes, I hope that answers that question.
Wonderful. I think it does. Thank you, Jenna. Nina, just to let you know, I sent an email to David today, and I think we're hopefully going to set up a call next Monday, I think. So if you're available to join that call, it would be great to have you there. Somebody asked, are you allowed to quarantine in your dorms? Yes, and I think that's the only place you can quarantine is inside the dorms.
Yes, my understanding is that students are required to quarantine with us by the Ministry of Health unless you are an Israeli citizen, you have family in Israel who can prove to the Ministry of Health that they have suitable facilities for you to properly quarantine, including, your own exit and entrance and these kinds of things. So definitely, like I said, it's the softer landing to come through us unless you are already set up with a community of folks on the ground in Tel Aviv.
Cool. Thank you, Jenna. Another question from Sarah. In the academic gap year, final grades are required. Nevertheless, they are not revealed after the closing date of application. What is the solution for that?
So if you are applying to what I think this means, Sarah, and you can correct us in the Q&A or raise your hand and request to be unmuted, but I think you're asking if you're applying for the gap year program, but your transcripts from high school have not yet been released before you have to apply for that program. So the solution to that would be to have transcripts that are as complete as possible sent by your school so that we can certify them. If you're able to get an unofficial copy, maybe that is complete, you can try and submit that for review at the very least, but the admissions team will work with you about any sort of special circumstances regarding admissions requirements and documents you need to submit.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. Sarah, does that answer your question? I've just allowed you to talk if you do want to chat or if you want to ask anything.
Yeah, it's everything solved. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. And I think that was all the questions. There was one other question from, I don't know if I can pronounce this properly, Atuher.
Mr.
Um,
Duncan.
I sent you a link in the chat. You can explore all of our programs from our study abroad, short term, summer, graduate degrees. I think the first step is to look through there and to see what program fits with you. And then you can then look into the program details and contact us or reach out to those program coordinators.
For sure. I think from what I can see from your questions, Mr. Duncan, I can see that you already have a degree in higher education. So the gap year program, since it's only for students who are coming out of high school, might not be the right one for you. But if you reach out to us, we're happy to help you find something that will be.
Cool. Thank you, Jenna. A question for you, Ayelet. One can enter the BA in liberal arts either in spring or fall. Is fall the more standard entry? Are there more students in the fall?
We have 2 enrollments each year, 2 admission times each year. So the bigger cohort is truly during the fall, but we also have a spring entry. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ayelet.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions for anyone? We've got a few minutes left, so we're available to answer any more questions from anybody. Okay. Any questions about housing, student life, enjoying Tel Aviv?
There's a lot there. I'm sure questions will come up if you do decide to apply to any of the programs. Like I said, that's why our offices worldwide are here to support you. We have coordinators like myself who work in Canada, work in Latin America, and all over the world. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have more questions, and we'll do what we can to make sure you get the info you need. But a lot of stuff is available on the website. You can find information about application requirements, information about housing, costs of attendance, the academic calendar. All of these things are up on our website for you to peruse, and hopefully, if you have questions after that, you'll reach out to us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. Somebody just asked, who do I contact about the academic gap year? Which of course is yourself, Jenna.
It's me. What I'll do is it's that either honestly the email address at info@telavivuniv.org, but I will type it into the chat. That comes to me unless I'm out of the office for some reason. If you're in the US, that's where you would send it. If you're outside of the US, you can send it to the study@TAUX email address, and we'll make sure you get connected to the right person. That's just a quick hot pro tip. telavivuniv.org, you're reaching out to the US office. If it's taux.tauacil, that's somebody on campus in Israel. That's my email address. I'll type in the study one. Great.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. Mayan asked a question about activities during the gap year. I assume we're talking about student life activities, excursions.
So the student life team during a typical semester will run an overnight trip to the north, an overnight trip to the south. So you get to see places outside of Tel Aviv and, down to the Dead Sea and to Jerusalem and things like this. But they're also running, movie nights and beach parties and things like that for students just on a regular basis, so that you're able to have opportunities to socialize with students maybe outside of your program who are also there for another international program. So the student life team is there to provide those opportunities to you. They, one year when I was, summer 2019, I was in Israel on campus working with the student life team, and we did a graffiti tour and down in Florentine in South Tel Aviv. And we did some hikes through the Judean desert. And, Israel is a small place that has a lot to offer in terms of exploring and history and nature. So the Student Life team really does their best to provide some opportunities for international students to plug into that stuff as much as possible, as much as you want. We also have a program on campus called the Buddy System, where you can be matched with an Israeli student. So you have somebody to ask questions about, you know, what's the best library to study in, or, you know, which cafe has the best coffee, that kind of stuff, which bus to take. So we do our best to provide as many of these opportunities, right, for you to plug into the greater campus culture. The classes that you're taking are in the same buildings as Israeli students are taking classes. Many times it's the same professors. So it's really up to you as much or as little as you want to plug into those things around you, and reach out to the Israeli student population.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. And just on that, I do know that the Student Life team, the Madrachim, they send out a newsletter. I think if not every week, it's maybe once every 2 weeks with, you know, just news and events and what's going on in Tel Aviv and in Israel in general. And it's,
right,
it's a very great,
to sign up.
yeah, opportunity to sign up, to join up, and they're always doing something. They're very, very busy.
They're very hardworking.
Yeah. Cool. Mr. Duncan, I just sent you a link in the chat to a couple of program pages that you asked for. So do reach out to those coordinators of those programs. We did do a webinar just recently for developing countries that's definitely worth watching.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Any more questions? Somebody asked something about Visum, VISUM.
I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is. If anybody did, you're welcome to raise your hand and chat and ask us. Okay.
You can feel free to email us if you think of it later.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Duncan, you raised your hand. Do you want to? I can allow you to talk if you want to ask a question. Or you can just pop it into the chat.
Okay. In the meantime, I do see somebody asked a question about the gap year, asking if it was like a mechina. Well, we have a couple minutes. I'll just explain kind of the difference. So a mechina is really a program that is designed to be an intensive study of Hebrew towards with the goal of academic study in a particular discipline. So, you know, I like to explain it as though if I were to pick up a medical textbook, a med school textbook in English and try to read a page, I would have to Google it at least every fourth word. So it's important to really make sure you have an understanding of Hebrew at an academic level in that particular discipline before you would apply to, say, a Hebrew language program through the main institution. And a gap year program is, our gap year program, our academic program, is a freshman year abroad, essentially. So you're picking up a full-time course load of academic credit. You're taking 4 classes each semester. You can do a semester or a year, and you're picking up credits that can be transferred back to hundreds of institutions around the world towards an undergraduate degree program with some, you know, some constraints. So I wouldn't expect to try and transfer a lot of liberal arts credits into a medical, the neuroscience program in the UK or something like that. So, but they're designed so that you can pick up some of these gen ed credits that most liberal arts programs require. And we've had lots of students who come to do a gap year and then decide they want to stay and transfer into the BA program, for instance, and continue studying in English, but work towards a full degree. Ayala's shaking her head. She's, I'm sure, very familiar with these circumstances. So these all things are possible. In Israel, if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. If you catch my drift.
Cool. Thank you, Jenna. That question was actually about visa. Thank you. So I sent you the link, Mr. Duncan, to our visas page. So please do check that out. And I also sent you the link to the developing countries page with all the information there about that program, the tuition, scholarships, financial aid as well. So
Just a
please do
quick
look into
word,
that.
while you've mentioned visas, just a quick word
Mhm.
about that. That is something that you, if you're coming from outside of Israel and you don't have Israeli citizenship already, is something that you should definitely keep in mind. Here in the US, we advise students that that visa application process can take up to 4 to 6 weeks. Every consulate is different. You have to work with the Israeli consulate close to you. There's not very much we are able to do for the visa application process beyond providing documents, certifying the dates of your program and your acceptance, your application acceptance. So just keep in mind that these are things to be considered, especially now during 2021 here in the future. It can be a little more complicated than it was in 2019. And we've definitely had some students who weren't planning ahead come up against some issues with visa procurement. So just keep in mind, we'll do our best to help you find the information that you need, provide the documents from us that you need for that application, but that's all done through Israeli consulates worldwide, and is your responsibility as a student to make sure you are ticking all the boxes necessary to enter the country legally.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna. Any more questions, people, before we finish? None? Okay. So I'm just checking our chat, also our Q&A.
Yeah, I see one in the Q&A.
Oh.
Someone asked about if they apply to a mechina, can they still apply to the BA in liberal arts? You could, yes, but you wouldn't need to do the mechina in Hebrew to apply to the liberal arts program. Is that right, Ayelet? I'm assuming. That if somebody does the mechina, they could still apply to the BA in liberal arts.
Mechina and liberal arts have nothing to do with each other.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't. The mechina would not be a requirement for applying to the liberal arts program because it's instructed in English.
No.
Right. So the mechina, like again, is a mechina is to study Hebrew at an academic level.
A Hebrew program, or if there is a problem with the bagut or for some sense, yes.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jenna. Thanks, Ayelet. Mr. Duncan, I've seen you've raised your hand and asked another question. I did send you the link to the program coordinator for developing countries. I do recommend you reach out to her. I'll also connect you afterwards as well. I can send her your contact details as well, and she'll be able to answer your queries about the admissions to that program. I'll connect you both afterwards.
Awesome.
Okay, wonderful. So I think just what's left is for me to say a big thank you to Jenna and to Ayelet for hosting and for presenting our programs, and also to everyone who's joined us tonight to watch it. I hope it was informative. I hope to see you all in Tel Aviv the next academic year. And like Jenna said, we have the office here on campus, right in the middle of campus. I'm here in the same office with the Student Life team, so I do get to meet and see a lot of our international students. And I do hope to see you all here in Israel very soon. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And we will email this out afterwards with all the contact details as we mentioned. And we wish you all good night and Erev Tov.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.